Hello, friends. As promised in the previous episode, starting this episode, I shall delve further into products. Not only further, we shall look deeper into product strategy. We shall look at the various steps that are involved. We shall look at the essentials that you need to be careful about. We shall look at some of the pitfalls that can derail your product strategy. And these are the things that you need to be aware of at all times to create an exceptional product strategy. So, effective product development essentially requires a strategic plan. Okay. And that strategic planned approach has to take care of four critical components that go into making an exceptional product strategy. The first one, and by far the most important one, is the product vision. And the second one is the strategy that you are going to make. The third one is the roadmap. How are you going to achieve the goals that you have set for yourself as a part of the strategy? And the last, but by far definitely not the least important one, is the product feedback that you need to keep getting. And together, these 4 points will help you to form a kind of a blueprint, okay, a kind of a plan with the 4 pillars, so to say, which will align all the interests and take care of the expectations of the stakeholders, of the teams, and will give you the desired outcomes that you wish to achieve for your company through your product strategy. So let us first quickly look at these 4 pillars. The first one is the product vision. I call this the guiding light of your product strategy. Because the product vision is going to define what is the purpose for which you are developing or creating this product. And what is the ultimate use and reason for its creation? Who is your target customer and how is it going to help them resolve some of their challenges or needs that arise, that they have? And whether your product can bring about a positive change through its design, through its features, through its quality, through everything that goes into the product, so that it brings about the benefits that your customer is looking for. So a product vision basically aligns, puts everything in sync, and inspires everyone, every single player who is involved in executing this product strategy, to achieving product success from the viewpoint of, as I said, everybody, the management, the stakeholders, the teams, whoever is involved in it. So this product vision, as I said, for me, it's the guiding light. And then, of course, comes the product strategy, which is the course that you are going to take to achieve those strategic goals that you are going to set from this. And therefore, it should be something that completely is in sync with the product vision that we just talked. And to make a great strategy, again, there are 4 critical pillars, so to say, that you need to address and you need to define very clearly without ambiguity. What is the value proportion? What is the value that your product is going to bring to the table for its users? It should identify the specific needs of the users. It should identify whom that product is addressed to, and therefore it should define the customers. That's your second pillar. So the value proposition is the first thing. The second thing is the customers who are going to use that product, because Only when you know your target audience can you build the features that are required within the product. How is your product going to be differentiated? You need to create a position for, I'm sure that you're not creating something. Well, if you are creating something that is not there in the market at all, you don't have to worry about a lot of things because you're the first runner who's not offering, nobody else offering something similar to it, and then you have it going. But if you're getting into a market where there is already someone, even if it is one single player, you need to figure out how your product is going to be differentiated and how you're going to position it within the market space so that people realize that you are a different product and not a clone or a copy of what is already available. And the strategy needs to define the goals. Okay, you need to set realistic goals, and this should be in sync with the company's overall strategy and goals. Whether it is the business goals, whether it is the HR goals, whether it is the manufacturing goals, we spoke of all these different strategies being a part of the main company strategy. So you need to be setting goals for the product strategy, and they should be naturally in sync and should be hand in hand, should be meshed with all the other strategies that the company develops. So developing a well-considered, why do I say considered? Because you have to take care of all of these things. You cannot ignore any of that aspects. So you need to consider each of these pillars, 4 pillars that we just spoke of when developing your strategy. So developing the strategy requires a lot of discipline. Okay, and courage. There are times you will have to make a call which everybody might say, are you sure? Or the company itself will wonder whether that's the right thing to do. But you need to have the courage to make those tough decisions that are going to make your product strategy unique and something that is exceptional. Because the product that you're going to launch ties into everything else that the company can possibly achieve, whether it is the top line, bottom line, valuation, satisfied customers, everything becomes a part of it through the product. And therefore, the product has to excel at everything. And you need to take risks to make sure that you excel. But you need to be very agile and very attentive when taking the risk. If there is something that is going to make that risk make you go back 2 steps, correct immediately. And therefore, your strategy needs to be adaptable and agile. So this is about the product strategy. And once you have the strategy, you need to plan the path to those strategic goals within the product strategy. So once you have a product strategy that has been accepted, validated by different departments, different stakeholders in developing the product, you need to create the product roadmap. And the product roadmap is basically a kind of a flow that is going to tell you how to reach your strategic goals for what you have designed as your strategy and how it will be implemented over time. You need to set milestones. Everything cannot be open-ended. Okay, maybe 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. You decide on each of those steps and keep a timeline so that you are working towards a well-defined and concrete goal. And you need to communicate all of this, including the specific benefits that you are going to achieve, not only for the overall strategy, for each of those milestones that you are setting within your roadmap, with all the stakeholders as well as the development teams, because it's the development teams who are going to be most affected by your timelines. An effective roadmap has to be built based on the product goals. And therefore, it should be something that the product that you create is capable of acquiring new users and increasing engagement with the existing users. So the roadmap can't be just a one-way thing about rolling your product out. No, there is a lot of things that we'll just look into it shortly, but there's a lot of things that are post the post the sale also. And it is all these goals that you will map out and put in your chart, in your flow, that are going to serve as the foundation for the product success. Whether the features are good, whether the customers are getting the benefits that you had designed for it, and therefore, whether the product is something that is going to work and help you grow your business. And last, but as I said, definitely not the least important, is the feedback that you need to keep collecting from the users, from your sellers, and from everybody who is involved in the process of selling and servicing. So the roadmap should include, the strategy in fact should include a very systematic, concrete plan for collecting and analyzing this feedback. It should capture all the details, tactical details. How is the customer using it? Is he happy with what he is getting out of the product? Is he saying something to you indirectly or directly which can help you improve the product? You need to bring all of this to the table, analyze it, and as I said, your strategy needs to be adaptable and tweakable. It has to be agile. You need to make sure that these things are included in the strategy. Put a version 1.1 and keep going, version 1.2, 3, keep improving the strategy to improve the end results. Your roadmap also might need to change, but that is perfectly all right. Because the bigger goal is to achieve the entire product strategy in sync with the company strategy. Okay, so that's the overall objective. And therefore, I think we can all safely say that effective product development and execution of that product right up to the sales and after sales stages, the product leaders who are managing that whole product plan, product project, so to say, are well connected and well aware of what is the product vision, what is the product strategy, what is the product roadmap, and what to do and how to handle the product feedback that you are getting. And once all of these things are in sync and the product leaders understand the value and importance of each of this, you cannot go wrong in building the product that you desire and that will give you the desired outcomes, provided that whole strategy and plan is well executed. So execution is also very important. So aligning your strategic vision along with your tactical execution is going to be the key to the entire product, right from the concept, the idea, up to the sales and getting your market share and creating value for your company. So the true success of your product does not just lie in the strategic vision, but also in the perfect execution of that vision. Otherwise, that vision just remains a dream, something that you will never achieve. And to unlock this sync, the key to unlocking this sync, which we are talking about between vision and execution, it is very important to understand the intricacies of different relations between all the things that we spoke of, which is the product vision, the product roadmap, the feedback loop, and all of it. And it has to all tie in together with the right data touch points as required. Now, how are you going to track the success of your strategy? Everybody must have heard this two criteria by which one measures the success. One is called the KPIs, the key performance indicators. Okay, these are metrics that you will define depending on your product, depending on your sales strategy, depending on your marketing strategy, depending on your go-to-market strategy, depending on your manufacturing strategy, all of it put together, you will define the metrics, you will define the parameters by which you're going to evaluate your success and whether you are achieving the business goals and moving along the path to achieving your strategy. And the other key metrics that you need to look at is objectives and key results. As I said, right from the vision of the product, you need to be clear about why the product is being made, for whom is it being made. So you have your objectives. Now, what are the key results that you're going to look at each of those objectives and decide whether those objectives are still valid? They might change over time, and whether you are moving along to achieve those objectives. So the true power of execution and achieving a great result from your product strategy is to build and execute the strategy in such a way that there is a bi-directional communication. It cannot just be from you to the customer. Feedback is important, as I said, from the customer to you. It has to be a bi-directional communication and connection between the strategic and tactical elements. So now, to achieve all of this, and this is something I have noticed ever so often, the project leaders, the product leaders are often not given the required authority to take this thing forward when they are faced with challenges. So, successful execution of a product strategy and the strategic plan that you make to go forward with the roadmap that you create, which is centered around the same four pillars that we spoke of: vision and feedback and roadmap and the strategy and everything. It cannot happen if the product leaders do not have adequate rights along with the responsibilities that go with the task. Okay, so yeah, I can understand you can't give everybody blanket permissions to do what they like, but you have to define certain norms. And if some change or some challenge has come up which is beyond those norms, you as the leader of that leader should be instant in addressing the problem and letting that person go ahead so that he does things well. Okay. So this development team who is guided by the product leader and the product leader who is responsible to and guided by the company leaders all need to be in sync and need to have authority and rights defined. So for lasting product success, I believe there are 5 factors that you need to remember at all times. The first is the desirability of the product. If a product is not desirable, who is going to buy it? And if nobody is going to buy it, why waste it? Time, money, energy, everything on developing the product. So the product has to be desirable and it must solve, and for it to be desirable, it must solve some specific problem or challenge that the user is facing and be able to mitigate or completely abolish that challenge for the user. There has to be the question of feasibility. And the feasibility is again in multiple aspects, right from the production and design up to the after-sales service. It has to be feasible to service and make the product at all stages. Okay. If you can't build the product right, if it is not feasible to build the product right, the product is doomed for failure. The third is viability. Supposing I create a product which is so expensive or which is so bulky, it may not just be about the cost, it may be about the dimensions of the product or something. Is anybody really going to use it? So it has to be viable. And again, that viability is in different stages: consumer usage and whether you can ship it easily, various factors. What is the usability of it? So is that product easily usable? And when the person uses it, does it give him some kind of a benefit? And what in today's times is very important is what is the ethicality of the product? People nowadays are very, very conscious about the ethics that go into all aspects of developing a product, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is designing, whether it is getting the raw material, whatever else is there. So these are the 5 factors that one needs to look at: desirability, feasibility, viability, usability, and ethicality. These are the 5 pillars which, if addressed correctly, will give you lasting success for your product. I have no doubt about it. Okay. So this has been, what shall we call it? Product strategy 102. Next time we'll look further into this topic. I have received some queries from my yesterday's episode, and I have not yet even read all of them, but I will in due course. Hopefully, I will cover some of those topics in the next episode. Thank you. Have a great evening.